Welcome in everybody for episode 2 of On Air with Valair. If you haven't checked out episode 1, please go back and check that with Jack Mayer. This time around the name doesn't rhyme, but still as great of an interview, hopefully. We have the pride of New Jersey, came to Nashville through New York, Nashville SC midfielder Sean Davis. Sean, welcome to the show.
Valair, thank you so much for having me. Like I mentioned to you, I think it's a great idea. It's awesome to give a platform for players to kind of tell their story, and it's not going to be easy following up Jack, but once again, thank you.
Hey, so he has the milkman situation. Like, what is? Let's get a nickname out here. What you got?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I'll give you the one that I've developed here. They actually call me the Spider.
Okay.
Yeah, very interesting. I think Hani came up with it, just because, I do have a lot of defensive qualities to my game, and I enjoy breaking up plays and intercepting, especially. And so I think sometimes guys are surprised when I can reach and, intercept the pass. And so that's kind of stuck, especially when we do rondos and I can fly around and intercept the ball. So Spider, guys like that. And it's kind of stuck amongst the players.
Yeah.
So, that's been a fun one. I get Akira a lot as well, my nickname, which is unique. I like that one as well. So they're starting to develop. Year 3, they're coming around, and, it's been fun getting kind of these new natural nicknames here.
That's awesome, man. You already hit on like 2 things I have on here.
Okay,
so,
nice.
So good. You're on the right trajectory
here.
Spider's a lot more practical than a milkman, I think, for a soccer player, I think. But we'll let Jack have his too. Before we get to the name, because I'm very, very interested in that, and it's a very cool name. What's up with the New York Red Bulls ex-players quota with Nashville SC? Are y'all like a union? What's going on here?
Yeah, there's a couple different theories, but I think one of the biggest things is that a lot of players that have some success in New York, we're very honest players, I would say, hardworking, reliable, and I think that's what you see. I think Alex paved the path. He's made it easier for a lot of us just because of his transfer here and the success that he had. He hit the ground running, and I believe that it was in the COVID year, and he came in, and I know watching from afar, seeing him make a difference and the team continuing to improve, I think that gave some credibility to the Red Bull players. And obviously you had Dax as well, who was a legend at Red Bull, legend in Nashville. So we've been fortunate to have some really good players come from there, and that's opened up the pipeline for myself and also now Drew. And so I think that work rate, that honesty goes a long way here. It's appreciated by the club and the fans, and has helped us had some success in the past few years. So very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, I'm sure, nice to have familiar faces. I was looking through some of social media things you had in the past, and I stumbled across a GIF of you and Alex Muyl celebrating your goal against Montreal, I want to say 2016.
Yeah.
You had 2 assists and a goal in that game.
Yeah.
So you were really balling out.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's you and Alex in a little GIF, and it's really nice.
No, that was Alex and I have a great relationship, obviously, and I think a big part of that is that we broke through in New York around the same time, as younger players, homegrown players, and just kind of dreaming of making a difference at the first team level. And there's ups and downs, but we were able to go through all of that together. And now being back, he helped me transition here. And, one of my first calls, or one of Drew's first calls when he joined the team was us speaking. And I told him, listen, Drew, it's an incredible locker room, incredible team, and you're going to love it. And I think he's been a great addition as well. So I could talk about that Red Bull Nashville connection for days, but very grateful for it.
That's awesome, man. Well, before we might bring it up a little bit.
Okay.
I have some surprises for you later. But before we get back into that, I do want to ask you about is it Holmdel?
Holmdel.
Holmdel. Okay. So you grew up there in New Jersey, and it clearly means something to you, like personally. Yeah. So tell us about it. I don't know this hometown. I've never heard of it.
I'm always hesitant to describe it this way because of the show, but I grew up in the Jersey Shore, and that's how I would describe it. And funnily enough, I was actually born in Long Branch. That's where the hospital was. And Long Branch is actually where I was married this off-season with my wife. And so it all kind of came full circle, you know, where we had our rehearsal dinner in our hotel and everything like that. But it was beautiful. And, you know, personally, a huge fan. And one of the special things about, you know, playing for the Red Bulls growing up, and then also with the first team, was the amount of time that I got to spend at my childhood home and where I grew up. And so, you know, that always gave me a comfort level, and I had a great time spending time with my family, sleeping in my bed even before first team games. You know, that was special, but it was also time to move on from that. And that's why Nashville has been a great, exciting new chapter. But Holmdel's a beautiful town in Monmouth County, Jersey Shore, and you know, I'm very grateful for that area and going to school there, the diversity there, the education, and a town that I love going back to, you know, even if we get a couple days off.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I want to talk about you. You said you got married. It was late last year, right?
Yes, December. Middle of December.
How does that feel, man?
Yeah, well, first of all, you know, we had to be very strategic about the date because with Apple coming in and, you know, influencing the format of the playoffs, and this was the first time there was ever a best of 3 game series. So we were, you know, I was talking to Jeff, our incredible administrator, about, you know, the scheduling and what that was going to look like, and it was the longest season ever. And so just trying to find the right dates to make sure that we could have the wedding without having to worry about MLS Cup final and also preseason and trying to get a honeymoon in. Anyways, we decided on December 15th. It worked out perfectly. Also, I have a lot of friends on different teams as well. And so it was important that that date worked because, you know, all of them could attend. And we had a lot of MLS representation at the wedding, but it was the best night of our lives. My wife did an incredible job helping plan it. She did a lot of the heavy lifting, but we were able to get a lot of that planning done, you know, in breaks throughout the year. So just very grateful for that. It's you know, probably the best night of our lives, and just having all of our favorite people in one spot was really special, and we loved the venue. Funnily enough, the chef at the venue in New Jersey, he went to Vanderbilt, and so we hit it off right away. There were just a lot of small signs that added up that showed us like this was the right venue, the right timing. The day was perfect. You know, I spoke a little bit about Long Branch, and the hotel we were staying at was right on the beach. And so one of the things I did with a bunch of the guys, including a lot of guys on Nashville, was we went for a run on the boardwalk, and then we did a cold plunge in the ocean.
Oh,
after,
that's awesome.
Yeah, for 3 minutes, and we were freezing, but it was so fun, and perfect start to the day. So, you know, a night I'll never forget. Very grateful for, obviously, my wife and all of our loved ones coming together for that. And, you know, weddings are special, so I'm happy it all worked out.
So you and your girlfriend had already lived in Nashville obviously since you moved to NSC. Is that correct? Okay.
Yep, exactly. So we lived together when I was playing in New York. We met actually when, you know, my career was in a funny place, and I was really, again, trying to establish myself, and after having a really good run, I was in a little bit of a slump, and it was a difficult time, a first world problem, you know, playing in a professional environment and, you know, not really getting the time that I wanted or even deserved at the time. But we met, and, you know, my life improved significantly, and that's certainly been the case, and we've lived together in Jersey City and in New Jersey, and loved it. And then it was time to make a career move, and we moved to Wedgwood, Houston at first, and we were renting, and we loved it. That was just when the stadium had opened up too, and I just remember game days being blown away because I would drive. It was only like a couple-minute drive to the stadium, but you would see all the cones out, and you would see all the fans walking around, and, you know, that wasn't something that I was accustomed to in New York. Right. And the support here has just been incredible, and you know, that's something that I'm always excited to talk about because you know, what's been built here is a lot of fun, not only for the fans, and we have to continue to entertain the fans, but for the players and the staff. You know, the game day feel is really special, and it's awesome to feel that in this league.
Yeah, I live in the Woodbine area, so
nice.
It's like across the street from Wedgwood, Houston, and even when I'm leaving to go to the game, I always see people, maybe walking or the parking lot being full. And I get to the game pretty early, as you do as well. So it is cool to see that, and that stadium sort of vibing really with
100%.
With you guys.
And when I was entering the free agency process, that was also a very special time in my career, having interest around the league. Free agency was such a new thing, just because of how young the league was and the different CBA negotiations, and to be able to experience it is something special to me. And Nashville and Mike Jacobs, John Ingram, they just blew it out of the water for me. And they made me aware of how special it was, even at the time when the games were at Nissan, how great the support was. And even hearing that, experiencing it is something different, and that's just been a great experience for my wife and I, and all the family that we have come visit. It's so fun taking them to the game. So
that's awesome. Well, you've talked about Nashville, so let's keep it going.
Yeah.
But now you're no longer in Wedgwood, Houston.
Right.
You're in East Nashville through and through.
Yes,
a couple of years now.
Yes.
So tell us, first of all, about the East Nashville contingent within the squad, and how proud are you of East Nashville?
Yeah. So again, going back to my recruitment process, Taylor Washington was a big part of that. We went to a Predators game together, and that was the first time I had really met Taylor, and we just had a great night together and so much fun at the game. And the Predators did a great job of, spoiling us with seats and service, and that was a lot of fun. But going back even further, even before I met Alex, I knew Dan Lovitz from playing PDL in the summer when we were in college. I went to Duke, he went to Elon, and so we knew each other from back then, and we had a great relationship. Then I knew Alex, obviously, so to have those three living in East Nashville, it was pretty convincing for my wife and I that was the neighborhood we needed to be in. And so we moved there, and I live in Cleveland Park, and I've been doing my best to get neighbors to the games, and meeting the different people in the neighborhood has been great. Going to the neighborhood meetups has been really exciting, without giving out too much personal information. I have a neighbor named Zach, and he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And we were driving home one day, and we saw a big chalkboard sign outside of his house, and it said neighborhood meetup this time. And we just went for it and met some of the neighbors, and they were just fantastic, and learning more about the area, the restaurants, different stores, different places to take people. That was a lot of fun for my wife and I, and that community feel was great, because we had known so many people in New Jersey and New York, just from growing up,
Right.
But to establish new connections and friendships, that was something new for us. And so we took the plunge, and we've really enjoyed living in East Nashville, learning more about the area, about the new developments. I personally nerd out about that kind of stuff, and I think the restaurant scene is incredible too. It's also close to the airport, so it's easy for guests. I mean, these are all things that maybe weren't so simple back in New York, that have been really great to experience here.
Absolutely, yeah. For somebody like myself who's been in Nashville for 14, 15 years now, it's crazy to see where that area has gone, and Nashville as a whole, of course.
Yeah.
But I think there are some things that we're holding on to, that despite all the new stuff coming in, but the stuff that you're talking about, I think the community aspect, and maybe people being a little nicer, I think, than other places too. Yeah. I think these are the things that draw people like you from out town to here.
Yeah, that Southern hospitality is real, and we felt that on our visit, not only with the club and how they were able to organize everything in such a thoughtful manner, but also just the different people that we would interact with, whether it was at the Predators games or at the restaurants, and everyone was just so kind, and that goes a long way for people coming from different areas of the country, of the world, and it's just a fantastic place to live.
That's awesome, yeah. You talked about community, and you talked about family, which I know these are big topics for you. So before we get into that, into a little bit more detail, tell me about Akira, man. That's a great middle name, first and foremost. So
it was important to my mom that we all would have Japanese middle names. So my siblings have them as well, and my grandpa actually chose mine. And unfortunately, my grandfather passed away when I was pretty young. so we didn't know each other that well. But he was very insistent on this name, and it was Akira, which to him meant intelligent boy. And I love the nickname, and obviously the movie is like iconic, and it's had a huge influence on anime. Anime is so popular these days,
Right.
and it all kind of stems from Akira, and it has like this incredible following. And a fun fact about me is that when I was in high school, I got my motorcycle license, and Akira obviously is based around a motorcycle, and I just think it's I got really lucky with the nickname because it's really cool to me. I really appreciate it. I've been to Japan twice. I love Japanese culture, and like any culture, it has its pros and cons, but I've really enjoyed visiting the country and better understanding my roots, and I wish I was more aware and appreciative of that earlier on in my life. It was just something that I didn't think about that much, and I grew up in an area with a big Asian demographic to begin with, so it wasn't something that I realized was so special until even playing in MLS, and there's not a ton of Asian players, and I'm half Asian, but it's something that I've appreciated more and more, and Akira is really cool to me, and I love it.
That's awesome, man. Well, you couldn't see it, and the audience couldn't see it, but our video guy Davey here just did a little dance when you said the movie Akira.
Oh, there we go.
So,
yeah, I like that. It's a great movie.
So it definitely has an impact.
Yeah.
And the movie, I think, kind of drives the name as well.
For sure, yeah.
But I know you've talked about your Asian heritage and you being half Asian, and your grandfather, I believe, served in the military. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
And there's a lot of. So for me, I moved here when I was 14, right? So I think, to me, I'm always thinking of, well, what is the next generation?
Yeah.
So like, it's weird because my grandchildren will be where you are, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So less of a question, but maybe more open-ended of like, how is that relationship with you and the Japanese culture?
Yeah.
I know your mom was born here, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of,
right.
How was it with her, and how is it with you now?
Yeah, so, I'm comfortable talking about this. Obviously, my mom passed this year, and she was very important to me. But, one of the silver linings of all this, if there is any, is that, hearing stories about my mom's childhood more and more, and hearing stories about my grandparents. And, one of the best gifts that my wife had gotten my mom was this thing called Storyworth, and it gives you a prompt every day, and you can write about it, and then it turns into like a massive PDF file. So my mom left behind like 200 pages about her life, and it turned into a book. Anyways, I tell you that because you mentioned your grandkids one day, hopefully, and I think that you should continue to think about those stories that you have from your childhood, because they're going to really appreciate them and enjoy hearing about them, because that's how I felt, hearing about my grandfather. He grew up in California, but one of the things that he did that I loved hearing about was that he went to Japan and he studied college there to improve his language ability, his Japanese speaking, and he had to take a boat to Japan, and I'm just like blown away by that it was that time, and I see pictures of him in college in Japan, and it just gives me the chills. He's just living an incredible life, and he looks so happy and experiencing like such cool things. And that actually led to him being involved with the military, because he was a translator. Very few people could speak English and Japanese perfectly, and he could. And that eventually led to him meeting my grandma, who was in an internment camp at the time. And so it's funny how everything comes together, and learning about family history has been something I've really enjoyed, and it's been inspiring to me, and just thinking about our family as a whole and how I represent all of them. And so
that's an incredible parallel
between
your grandfather and your grandma.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. Again, like I kind of nerd out over those small details, but I think it's very special, and I wouldn't be here without them, obviously. So I guess my only advice to you would be to continue to hold on to those childhood memories you have and share them, because I know your kids, your grandkids will appreciate that.
Great advice, honestly. I need to start writing that book.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do want to go back, and you talked about your mom already, and obviously, like, the influence she had
Yeah.
and the sort of touch she had on the world,
Yeah.
which is crazy
Yeah,
because it started
exactly.
off at TikToks, right?
For sure.
If anybody's an initiated here,
yeah.
Sean's mother was an incredible TikTok star,
Yeah.
incredible on YouTube, all sorts of stuff.
Everything.
She did incredible cooking videos.
Yeah.
Go watch them. But for you, she was obviously your mother, and
Yeah.
I saw your post on Instagram, and it
Yeah.
was so touching
Yeah.
because you described her as so many different things, and
Right.
she was, you described her personal life, which
Yeah.
the
sure.
TikTok was towards the end of
Yeah,
her life, really.
exactly.
So I just, you said she was your first soccer coach as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just want to give you this time to,
Yeah.
talk about that. I
Yeah,
guess.
for sure. No, I appreciate you bringing that up and giving me, again, a platform to speak about that. But for me, the most important thing was that although she was famous, although she had this TikTok or online personality, it was important, like I mentioned in the post, sometimes they say like never meet your heroes, because you're not always going to love who they are as people. But for my mom, I really believe that people deserve to know as much about her as possible because she was special. And, when I think about, I'm very fortunate to do what I love, and my brother, who was the brains behind the operation of the whole online personality, he got to do what he loved. And I think that stemmed from my mom and the lessons that she was able to ingrain in us and teach us. And so I'm very fortunate for that, and just so many lessons. And it's easy to be sad about that, and everyone grieves in their own way. But for me, I just came out of it really appreciating the time that we had together. And I know I wouldn't be in Nashville without her, and without her, I felt like she always pushed the boundaries like in a great way and tested herself. And coming to Nashville was a huge test, not only for soccer. I know soccer is extremely important, but also, eventually I'm going to be done with soccer one day, and I want to be a well-rounded person. And I think that coming to Nashville could push me in that direction, and it has. And it's just been a really fun experience that without the lessons I think my mom ingrained in myself and my siblings and my family, I don't think I would have taken that leap. And I'm really happy I did. And obviously very thankful for my mom. So I appreciate you allowing me to speak about that.
That's awesome, man. And she obviously made that change for you guys. You're her sons and daughters,
exactly.
but the way she kind of reached out to the whole world in a way,
exactly. I think it's
awesome
beautiful, and
too.
I think it, it's what she wanted. So
I think family is one of those things where a lot of people have different relationships in different ways. But seeing you talk about her and your brother as well, and everybody kind of who met her, the things she's done are incredible. And I'm glad that she passed that on to you guys. So now you can kind of continue that part.
Thank you.
Well, let's take it back to a lighter note now.
Okay.
I was doing some research. I knew you were going to be the subject for this one. So I was looking out there, and I was like, well, you know what? Let's go back to some old tweets.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm nervous about this.
Let's see
We'll see what you dug up.
This is a new segment on the show called Tweets of the Past.
Yeah, okay.
We're starting with you.
Here we go.
It's heavily reliant on like whether or not the people I'm interviewing have these tweets, right? So you do. So
it's out
we'll
there.
start with you.
It's fair game. It's on the internet.
So I'm gonna go through these tweets one by one, and I want you to give me your opinion at the end of each one. So we got the first one from September 13, 2016.
2016.
At 4:26 p.m. you said, at AlexMuyel19, ha ha ha, you have no idea how to use this platform, #facts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what happened there? What was
I don't know. I'd love to dig back and learn more. But I know for a fact that, he has some interesting deficiencies. And one of them might be Twitter use. Okay. It's one of the few weaknesses of Alex.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to say that because he's so creative and he is so intelligent. But I think Twitter was so new to him at this time that maybe he was just, tweeting some nonsense out, or it wasn't coming out properly. But I stand by that regardless of what I meant exactly.
So I'll have to get Alex in here because it seems like this segment will be perfect.
I want to see what he did because I stand by my comment.
On July 1st, 2015, we go a year back.
Oh, man.
At 10:51 p.m., you said...
10:51, that's late.
Yeah, you said, ending the night with ice cream, s'mores flavor, and a couple emojis.
Ooh.
Do you still like s'mores flavor? Do you
Well-
still end the night with ice cream?
Well, right now, I first of all, yes, I have a sweet
Okay.
tooth. I've tried to go with dark chocolate. It's a little healthier of an option.
Right.
When it comes to ice cream, I have to talk about my favorite place in East Nashville. So it's called Sips Cafe, and
Okay.
it is just unbelievable. And so anytime someone moves to East or someone's visiting East, our massage therapist was just asking for an ice cream recommendation. There's some other good ones. I always tell them Sips Cafe. It's actually built, the building it's in, what used to be a bank. So it has some cool features about it. And yeah, my wife and I love going there. At home, we have to have Yasso bars, which are, I hope, healthier, alternatives to ice cream. They're delicious. And funnily enough, I just ran out to Publix last night, right after dinner. It was 7. And I was like, we need to have ice cream because I'm leaving to LA soon. We just need to have something in that freezer so we can, after having a nice healthy dinner, splurge a little bit.
That's
So,
amazing. Yeah,
I love
I've never
ice cream.
heard of this place. So
Sips Cafe,
Sips
try it,
Cafe.
yeah.
So that's 2 things I need to try. I
Yes.
need to watch Akira.
Yeah.
And I need to.
Yeah,
to,
this is, we're teaching
yeah.
each other things. And
Yeah.
I want some good Middle Eastern recommendations.
Yeah, man. I
after
got
this.
you. I got you for
Yeah.
sure. Hey, if anybody wants to sponsor the show, I mean, we
Yeah,
got
let's
spots,
make it work. Let's make it work.
Okay, we go. This is way back. This is 2013, December 5th.
I'm in college then.
College, 5:59 p.m. You said Polar Express in
Yeah.
parentheses, best Christmas movie
Yeah.
about to start on ABC Family. First of all, thank you for telling people. You were kind of a show guide at that time, I
Yeah.
guess. And also, Polar Express still best Christmas movie.
Yeah, I love the holidays. I love Christmas. Just because, like, in college, you'd go back home, be with your family. I mean, Christmas is great to begin with, but it was always a good reason to come home. And it's the same in MLS. People talk about changing the schedule so it's like the European calendar. And I'm like, please don't do that because then we can't enjoy Christmas as much as we do now.
Right.
But I love Christmas and I love Polar Express for some reason, like ever since I was younger. There's other great movies, but this one just always gets me. And I always get the Christmas spirit watching that, and I really enjoy it. So I'm excited to hopefully one day show my kids that movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the Akira to my kids, So we'll see.
This is amazing. Yeah. Last tweet I have is from 2012, so it's a
College.
while back. And I understand if your opinion has changed here.
Yeah.
Because it's a hot take. I'm gonna be honest with you
okay.
here.
Oh,
it
no.
was at 6:03 a.m.
I'm
on
a
July
morning
2nd.
person. Okay.
You are a morning person.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And you were obviously tweeting on July 2nd.
Also, is this Central Time or is this Eastern?
That's good call.
important
So
for
maybe it was
people to know.
7:03 because I think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be Central.
Although the ice cream one is a pretty late tweet if that's Eastern Time. So
Yeah.
all right.
No, I would assume that's Central. So yeah, I don't
exactly.
know.
Yeah. All right. So 7, whatever.
You said it's a very short one. It's coffee is terrible. #learn to love.
Oh my gosh.
Where are you on this?
I'm happy you brought this up because if you ask anyone in that locker room, they know that I am a coffee fanatic. I'm obsessed with coffee. I love it.
That's great.
And this actually started in COVID. I didn't have coffee too much before COVID, but unfortunately COVID locked us all inside, and that's when my wife and I started using the French press, and we loved getting our hands on the beans and like grinding them up, and then also doing the French press process. It was very therapeutic, and so then we started. Sorry, Drew's walking by. I don't want to make eye contact with him. There he is. Like, why is he here? I don't know why he's walking by here. Why are you here? Why are you here? I don't need this healthy distraction right now. So anyways, yeah, we started during COVID, and then things really accelerated when we moved to Nashville because we got an espresso machine at the training facility. And this is another reason why I'm very grateful for Nashville, because being around guys that are older, that really know what they like, I was able to learn a lot of things. One thing they had was an espresso machine, and every morning guys would make their espressos, a Breville, which I've come to learn is a great starter machine. And now every day, I spend a lot of time in the morning making my espresso. And not only do I have the Breville machine, but the hopper is completely empty. And I have an extended hopper because when I grind the beans, well, first I weigh them. I get very specific beans. Walker Zimmerman got me a great wedding gift. Walker and his wife Sally got us a great wedding gift, and that was like a rotating bean subscription. And so the beans are very fresh. I weigh out the beans. My buddy Aaron Long that I played with in New York, he lives in LA, he ended up getting a machine, and he showed me how to use it even better. So now I weigh out the beans, 18 grams, with our scale, put it in the hopper, grind it out fully so that the hopper is completely empty. I push down on the hopper so it gets all the grinds out. So it's perfectly weighed. I have a funnel that keeps all the grinds in there. I have a WDT tool that I use to break up any clumps. I then have the tamper that is supposed to apply the right amount of pressure. And then I have a puck screen to keep the machine clean.
That's growth, man.
And then you want a certain amount of liquid out, and I weigh that as well. So
wow.
I'm obsessed with it, and I'm really happy that you brought that up, because if you ask them, the guys, they're like, yeah, he is a different level of obsessed. It's borderline weird, but I love it, and I love the details of it, and it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. Okay, so 2012 to 2024, 12 years.
A lot's changed.
A lot has changed. Well, who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Little college Sean Davis.
I'm sad I missed out on coffee for so long, but it's, I guess it is a type of drug, and that's the one drug I'm addicted to.
Yeah,
is coffee.
man. Well, there are worse ones out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love coffee too. I drink my coffee black.
Same.
I don't know about all that stuff you were saying.
Well,
I don't even know those words.
Just wait till you get down the rabbit hole.
Maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Exactly.
Got to start with the machine first. And one thing I do want to go back to, you mentioned playing against Dan Lovitz.
Yep.
You didn't only play against him in PDL. You played against him twice in college as well.
Yeah.
And those results, I have it on here, was 2-2 and 0-0.
Wow.
So I don't know if you remember that, but I don't know. It came to my mind. I was like, wait, he mentioned Dan. And I was like, you guys have played against each other.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for looking that up.
Yeah, I have a stats guy,
Yeah, there you go.
Shout out Clay.
Yeah,
he's watching
thanks,
probably.
Clay.
I do want to go back to college, because you didn't drink coffee, but you did spend time at Duke.
Yeah.
And not only did you spend time, you were like the guy with the soccer team.
Yeah.
And you had all these sort of accolades and stuff that you collected. But I'm curious, because I asked about Jack this as well. There is a difference between the guys who made it through the college system, and I think made it to MLS, and then the guys who haven't. So where do you think this stands, college system, in terms of American soccer?
No, I appreciate the question, because I think about this a lot, and I thought about it a lot when I first joined the league. And I think, first of all, in my opinion, MLS is the fastest growing league in the world. And every year they're pushing the boundaries, and things have to be loosened up, in my opinion, budget-wise, and that's a conversation for another time. But every single year it's getting better and better. And so I do think that there's an interesting dynamic with college soccer, and it'd be interesting to know how many college players are kind of breaking through, establishing themselves, and contributing. And what I think is special about Nashville is that they really value the college system. We have great scouts that are watching week in, week out, and I actually speak with them to try to keep tabs on the college soccer scene and what teams are doing well, what players are exciting. And it was really fun to hear about Forster, a Duke guy, doing really well at Duke. And it was fun to watch him and also hear from Coach Kerr, my college coach, about how well he was doing. And now he's here, and it's great to have another Duke guy. We need all the help we can get. But I do think that it's an interesting time, because you have a lot of homegrown players, even now at Nashville, that are signing before they even get to college. And that's becoming a little more aligned with the rest of the world, just because academies are getting better and better, and players can contribute earlier and are very valuable at a young age. But I do think that it's a special part of the league that the draft exists, and that players can have the opportunity, even if that means spending a couple years at the two teams, the MLS Next Pro teams, which I was very thankful for in New York. I was riding the bench a lot early on and getting that game day experience, but it was the first year of New York Red Bulls too. I had the first assist for them ever, so I'm proud of that. But
it's in the notes.
Of course you got that. Of course Clay knew that, the stats guy. But I think that we need to continue to give those college players a chance. Even if the numbers are dwindling, I think that there's talent there. And also, it was an important time for me from a maturity aspect to develop leadership abilities. Being the captain at Duke served me extremely well throughout my professional career. Having those experiences were really important. And honestly, I wasn't ready to be a professional at the age of 17, 18. I personally needed to go. And everyone's route is different. But for me, it was really important to go through that college process. And it was also very important to my parents and gave me a lot of freedom when I did go pro to know, okay, I have my college degree to fall back on, but I can really invest all my time and energy here and not focus about if ands or buts outside of that. So
right, yeah, and that's I think that's the spot it serves, because I think college sports or college soccer specifically, there are cracks, and not every academy is going to catch every kid,
yeah.
and there are just so many players out there that opportunity is so important.
Exactly.
You mentioned the first assist in New York Red Bulls 2 histories. Do you remember your first professional goal? It was in the Open Cup, I believe.
Yes, and I know who it was against.
Okay, I was going to say.
Maybe that's what brought me here. But we were playing Atlanta Silverbacks,
correct,
I believe, in the Open Cup, and I remember I came on, I think 70th minute or something like that, and I believe it was with my left foot. I can't remember exactly, but it was funny to hear, I was talking to one of our trainers, Sydney, who was working at the team at the time, and she was like, yeah, she was working for Gary at Atlanta Silverbacks. So maybe that planted the seed in his brain. And
so Atlanta Silverbacks were coached then by Gary Smith, who now obviously coaches Sean.
Yeah, exactly. But in the Open Cup, which I told you I'm a huge fan of.
Of course.
That's where my opportunities came from. Playing against teams like Silverbacks and Cosmos and things like that. I think that there's just a lot of charm in that. But
so hopefully we'll have the Open Cup next year.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a different time now. There were some other Nashville USL players playing in the squad actually.
Wow.
For Gary Smith at the time. So Nashville SC USL captain Michael Reed was one of the players,
nice.
As well as a couple other Nashville players. So a really weird connection that you scored your first professional goal against them. I do want to talk about Nashville now and where you guys are at. This is your third year. We talked about you kind of settling to Nashville, the city. But what does the team look like? You're more of the veteran guy now. You're making the coffee. So what is the vibe now? What is the locker room like?
Well, first of all, it's been really fun to see the club continue to grow every single year, and I think the club deserves credit for that, because it's not easy, as you've seen in the past, for expansion teams to come into the league, and it's been exciting to see that. Even when we're at the stadium and we see that first maiden goal, I think that's how Tony Husband described it, but at the stadium against Atlanta and seeing that memory, and we have pictures all over the facility, and it's fun to think about that time, even though I wasn't there, and then thinking about the stadium. That was my first season here, and then last year the facility opening up, and it's a world-class facility. It's unbelievable, and when new guys like Tyler Boyd and Drew come here and they get to see that, and the kitchen and the quality of everything is really special. But to talk more about the team, I think all of us know that while these first few years have been very successful and there's a lot to be proud of, it's all about how can we take that next step. And it's easy to talk about it, but it's harder to execute. And, we're in a good place right now. I think, of course, we wish we could have advanced further in Champions League, but we have some performances, again, that we're proud of. That Miami game at home, we wish we would have won, but I think there was some really good soccer on display and something that I hope made the fans really proud. And then we have this game against Charlotte where we rotate a few bodies and we're able to get a result. I think that's a good sign of growth, We can also talk about how we gave up some leads earlier on in the season, and already we were able to hold on in this recent Charlotte game in a more convincing manner. But I think we're all talking about, okay, what do we need to do to take that next step? If this league is continuing to evolve every single year, what are we going to do to continue to do that? And so we want to continue to find ways to improve and all of us are looking in the mirror. What can the players do? What can the staff do? What can the front office do? What can our training staff do? Again, we can talk about it all day long, but it comes down to putting in strong performances week in, week out, and we're hoping to build on some of that early momentum now.
And I have like pages upon pages of your first with the Red Bulls and all that. You were the first homegrown player to captain the Red Bulls. You were the first homegrown player to reach 100 and 200 appearances for the Red Bulls. So you came into the league in a very transitional period, and it seems like you've kind of grown with the league as well, and now you're in Nashville. I think, I guess, how are you passing that on to other players now that you are maybe more veteran guy, let's say it that way?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing up the time in New York, because that was transformative time in my life, and I had to experience a lot of different things across the spectrum, and that's what all athletes go through. But for me, when I was made captain, that was a really proud moment, and I felt a lot of pressure because I cared about the club so much, but I also really cared about the guys. And I think like when Drew came here, that was a really good example of it, because when I was in New York, I was the oldest player by far, and I was only 27, 28 when I was captain. But the locker room had a lot of young guys, and a lot of guys going through what I had gone through. And so to try to be understanding of them and where they are in their development, and try to show them how to show up every single day, I think that was a blessing for me that I could try to pass on. And that's why I'm really excited, when I know that when we cross the line and we compete, that's something different. But when the game's over and I get to see the guys again, it's a special moment, because I do truly care about trying to leave this league and the locker room in a better place. And because soccer is a part of our lives, it's not our entire lives, and there's going to be life after soccer. So trying to prepare guys for that and trying to get them to think about things outside of soccer is important, and also how to appreciate every single day that you have as a player, because our days are limited. That's just the reality of our work. So it's important to me for sure.
You also wore the armband for Nashville SC for the first time, opening game in 2024.
Yep.
How was that moment for you?
Yeah, it was great. We had a very quick turnaround, and we played New York. And again, I know a lot of those guys, but anytime you get to wear the armband, it's an honor. It's not the most important thing to me. I always believe that whether you have the armband or not, you should have qualities that support the team in the best way possible. But it's funny you bring that up. One of my favorite memories in Nashville, and it's a little selfish, but I was captain for the first time with Nashville, I think against Columbus Crew in 2022 on the road, missing a few bodies, and we got the win. And I think that was my maybe third or fourth game with the club. And so I felt very appreciative of that, of Gary giving me the armband, and of us getting the results despite missing some bodies. And
I was at that game.
Yeah,
I just remember that.
We were holding on,
Yeah.
but it was just a great memory for me. And you're always looking for those ways to kind of become part of the group, and that was that for me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think Jalil Anibaba came off the bench for Columbus.
I think he did.
Okay,
Yep.
there you go.
I think he did.
Just
I remember he had moved to Columbus.
Yeah, didn't need Clay for that one.
Yeah,
I just remember because I was
memory,
there. Well, Sean, you've been very, very generous with your time. I do want to do this one last bit here, and then we'll wrap it up.
No problem. Let's do it.
So thank you for being generous with your time, first and foremost. I have some questions from fans from Twitter.
Okay.
So we're gonna go through them real quick. One-word answers or like short sentences?
Okay, I'll try to be short. I know I could ramble, so.
Some of these can't be one word, so I totally understand. First one comes from Omari. He asked, favorite European team / childhood club?
Okay, I'll try to be quick. So my favorite player growing up was Steven Gerrard at Liverpool, center mid, captain for his home club team. I love that. My first breakthrough game for New York Red Bulls was at LA Galaxy. He was playing.
Yes.
And I scored my first MLS goal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I love telling that story. Maybe some people have heard it already, but
You also destroyed Chelsea one time when you played against them.
Yeah, 2 goals against Chelsea.
Look up that.
I know. Nashville fans are probably surprised to hear about all this goal scoring, but it happened. It happened.
Hey, you scored goal of the week last season.
I got it in me.
Yeah, you're fine. You're doing fine. Who's been the toughest? Oh, this comes from Rojas.
Okay.
Who's been the toughest opponent you've faced on the field? I'm gonna take Messi out because that's
Yeah,
unfair.
yeah, yeah. No,
Somebody else.
I would say I remember some really good battles against Atlanta United when I was in New York, and Miguel Almiron was very special.
Yeah.
And he's very quick, very talented, very quick. But I would say Almiron.
Casey asks, okay, bear with me. This is a tough question, I think. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized Annabelle Godoys or one Annabelle Godoy-sized duck?
One.
I can reread that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, give me that one more time.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized Annabelle Godoy
Duck-sized Annabelle. Okay.
or one Annabelle Godoy-sized duck?
I don't want to go 1v1 against a normal-sized Annabelle Godoy.
Right.
So I'll go with 100
mini Godoys.
minis and hope for the best. You know, that's my answer.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forgot I put this in here.
That's
it
a
caught
brain
me off
teaser.
guard, but
Yeah.
I had to ask you. And then John B says, which Nashville SC teammate would make the best backpacking across Europe buddy and why? Or backpacking across Japan to make it more.
Backpack across Europe. I would say, I mean, I'll have to go with Alex on these answers. One, he speaks French, so it could help us, you know, in different situations, France, Belgium, you know. I'll go with Alex. I think, you know, we've traveled, you know, fun fact, Alex and I have been to Thailand and Cambodia together.
Wow.
And Jesse Marsh, our coach in New York, he gave us a lot of recommendations in both places, convinced us to go to Cambodia. We got the visa and everything. It was incredible. So
great.
We've been all over.
I want to do another hour of just that.
Well, you should get Alex on here.
Get Alex to talk about it.
He's got great stories.
Yeah. And last one I have is not a question. This comes from Bailey. They say, I don't have a question, but if you did want to pass along that, I've always appreciated him taking time to walk around the field and recognize the fans. I even remember him doing it away at Cincy game. It means a lot to us.
That's nice. Sorry, who wrote that?
Bailey.
Bailey. Well, thank you, Bailey, for bringing that up. But I feel like it's the least we can do. You know, like I said, I'm very appreciative of the support in Nashville. I don't just say that, and you know, I feel like maybe I can't sign every single thing that someone's asking for, but the least I could do is recognize the support, and you know, people spend their time with us on their weekends and midweek games, and like yourself, travel to DR to watch us play. So very appreciative of the support, and I appreciate them bringing that up.
Well, Sean, very appreciative of you and your time. This has been a great time getting to know you and showcasing your personality a little bit to the Nashville fans. For everybody listening and, well, not listening, watching, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everybody who helped make this happen, Ben Wright, Clay Trainum, and of course, Davey. And thank you to Nashville SC and Sean Davis for being so accommodating. I'm Valair Shabilla again. You can follow me on all social media. Follow the show. Please help us out. Help us spread the word. We want to make more of these, and hopefully with your help we can. Again, I'm Valair Shabilla. This is On Air with Valair, and thank you, Sean Davis.
Thank you so much, Valair. I really appreciate it, and I can't really follow up that outro. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.